Great, thank you so much. And welcome to Darius Samolowitz as well. What we're doing today is going to use 15 minutes to probably cover something which takes about 2 hours normally to do. So we're just going to go into the guiding principles behind what we're going to talk about today, which is a microcredential, which has actually got government support. We've actually won a grant from the Australian government to pilot a microcredential in higher education for out-of-field teachers of mathematics. So we're coming from Australia. I'm currently sitting in Brisbane. I teach at the Southern Cross University in the Gold Coast campus. And Darius, just want to share where you're at and a little bit about...
I'm from Sydney, and I'm from the Mathematical Association of New South Wales. And like Lewes said, this is a bit of an ongoing partnership that our professional association has actually had with Southern Cross University. Lewes?
Yep, sure. So I'm just going to just recap a few things here from the abstract. We all know about the shortage, certainly something which is impacting us across Australia. There have been a variety of strategies employed both nationally and internationally, everything from school-based professional learning, one-day events, if you like, right through to university courses, which are looking to requalify teachers to teach mathematics. What we're looking at is something in the middle ground. It's still sitting within a university. However, it's in partnership with a professional association. And the idea here is that we're going to be designing and piloting a microcredential to increase the effectiveness of out-of-field mathematics teachers. We have an ongoing mantra. This is about supporting and orienting out-of-field teachers to teach mathematics more effectively. We're not trying necessarily to have them qualified, although this could be the beginning of a pathway for them to do this. And this presentation here is going to talk about this. Now, Darius, could you just reflect for everybody on the interest that MANSWA has, Mathematical Association New South Wales, has in this project? Why are you with us? Why do you see it as important?
Yeah, thanks, Lewis. Yep. As a professional association, we obviously have members across our state in our particular case. And what we started to really look at is we supported really well practicing teachers, so qualified teachers in metropolitan centres. But what we really wanted to get into is how can we support those other teachers of mathematics, so the out-of-field teachers, and they predominantly fall in those regional, rural and remote areas as well. And so we as a professional association are about supporting all teachers who are teaching mathematics, whether they are in field or out of field. And we really wanted to be able to leverage the support mechanisms that a professional association has in a very structured and targeted way, and really look at some of those mechanisms that we could engage or activate to support these teachers. Lewis, because we don't have a lot of time.
No. Do you want to talk very briefly into legacy?
Sorry, what was that, Lewis?
You want to talk very briefly into legacy of the program?
Oh, and this was the other... In this particular micro-credential project that we're working on now came out of another long-term 3-year project that we had that we conducted with Southern Cross University. And what we actually found was there were support mechanisms in place to support out-of-field teachers, but they were all funding dependent. And some of them were very successful and some were not so successful. But what was key to each of those was once that funding or that pot of money dried up, that support mechanism actually fell apart. And so what we wanted to look at and really engage with is how can a professional association shortcut that funding or replace the reliance on a funding on those dollars and cents and make it part of their core business as a professional association. And so we're not just looking at developing a micro-credential and offering a micro-credential, but we're all, because that is only for a set period of time, but we're also looking at how do we as an association provide that support and that ongoing support to these teachers. And I know in the session we had earlier today, they were talking about the role of professional association, the identity of teachers, the networking and those communities that teachers are involved in. Lewis?
Yeah, thank you, Darius. So part of the principles here, which we're going to start unpacking, is certainly about building that legacy. Now, the project conditions, I mean, there are many, it's like a 50-page document, but really, if we're going to pull it apart here, the most important parts are it's a 0.25 Etzel, which is a full-time load. So it's equivalent to basically a quarter load for a year for a student. And we're looking to put this within the framework of a micro-credential within higher education. So they're actually looking here that students must be able to demonstrate their learning outcomes and proficiencies or the micro-credential, but it has to be within the context of a higher education award. So that's part of the innovation space, which this grant is having us work within. And we're looking to deliver the pilot to 60 students, all of whom will be help fee supported, which means the Australian government will pay their fees to do this micro-credential. And it also includes a project evaluation and proposal for stage 2, which is the post-pilot. So what we're really looking at here is one batch of students, 60 of them coming through this program. Now, this here is the design framework. I'm going to unpack this now for you. Now, the OPGs, that's the overarching project goals. And these include improving the proficiency of teaching mathematics, increasing the self-efficacy towards teaching mathematics, decreasing mathematics anxiety, mathematics teaching anxiety as well, increasing, this is where it really ties in legacy, increasing feelings of belonging to a community and a network of mathematics teachers. And we are actually going to be making a distinction between community and network, and also the resources with this network sustaining, continually improving practice and enabling contributions to profession. Again, this really is something which we're looking to Manswa to be part of the legacy of this professional certificate, which we call it, or the micro-credential as moves forward. We're also looking for increasing identity as mathematics teachers and increasing the retention. In a way, in fact, these all here actually are part of a longitudinal research frame which we're putting around this project. And in a way, what we're looking at here is first, second, third, and fourth order effects. Really, the focus of the micro-credential is improving proficiency. But we know that's also going to have an impact on self-efficacy. We know it's because there's a reciprocal relationship between self-efficacy and anxiety, which has been shown through numerous research, that we hopefully will be decreasing anxiety towards teaching mathematics for these teachers coming into the program. We're hoping that through the involvement of workplace learning and Manswa and the mentoring feedback programs we're going to have in place, that we're building community, the immediate people, but also building their network. And that will also have, all of this will hopefully have a third order impact on identity as a mathematics teacher, which we're hoping of a fourth order impact on retention of these teachers in the teaching profession. But again, this is the overarching project goals. Now, going closer to the micro-credential, we've actually developed, as part of getting this approved through the university, we've actually had to skate that line between, it's a micro-credential, but it also has to meet the university requirements. A part of the university requirements is learning outcomes being tied into assessment, also within the constructive alignment, all those sorts of things have to be done with this as well. So what you're seeing here are the 4 learning outcomes which we've come to form up. They initially started with the Australian Professional Standards for Teachers, but we've morphed them through our research, reading and research, and even the idea of boundary crossing with this cognitive and non-cognitive knowledge. So you can always come back to this slide. We're just going to keep moving here. The framework, so within the the overarching project goals, the learning objectives, you may have noticed that very quickly on the side of learning objectives, I had something about the 2 assessments, both of which have reflection as part of them. We also have the PD framework. Now, we actually went into the PDMT, I think the initials are, the Irish study, which is looking at qualifying teachers. And I read into quite a lot of those studies there. And what we picked up here is this framework for effective professional development, which has 2 main areas, structural features and core features. The form of the activity, if it's reform, in other words, getting people to come together and reform their knowledge, constructivism, if you like, or is it going to have lecture-based? The duration of the activity, which basically means how are we going to spread out the time that the students are engaging with the various parts of of their learning, and also the degree of collective participation. Are we going to have them in groups geographically, or are we going to get them through interests or need-based groupings? These are all things which we're well on the road here. Within this model here, they have a content focus, which is good, but we're actually going to be replacing with the mathematical content for teaching framework that Ball and colleagues developed their publication in 2008. And we've actually been doing quite a work on in there already with how we're going to be realizing that. Opportunities for active learning, you'll see that playing forward in the next slide. And fostering coherence, this is all about making sure that we're keeping everything aligned through the syllabuses, but mainly Australian curriculum, although realising we actually need cross-coding with New South Wales, because we realise a lot of the teachers are doing this program will also be New South Wales teachers. So that's the overall framework, which we're plugging things into. Now, within that, we do realise that predominantly this will be within a blended learning environment, which will be predominantly online. So we're using some of the models here, which we found in the PDMT as well. And this Graham model here is going to be using this to reflect upon how can we make this more live or virtual? How can we get this to be more synchronous? How can we make this more human, et cetera, et cetera? And there's a great article here which this came from, and also the Graham original article. This is something else which we're considering. The broad circle here is everything that could be considered within a blended learning environment. The yellow here is everything that could be considered with supporting out-of-field teachers, particularly those who are going through professional learning. And our PCTM, our Professional Certificate in Teaching Mathematics, is going to sit in that space. We're going to do our best to make sure that we choose those activities and those learning opportunities for the students that sit really well within the context of a blended learning. But also, you'll see here, we're going to have not only not only online learning, but situations where they can actually get face-to-face experiences. And the next slide will actually get further into that. Do you want to add anything in here, Darius?
No, you're doing a great job, Lewes. I'm just going to remind you, you've got about 2 minutes left.
I've got my big clock here.
Yeah.
All right. So there's 3 areas we're looking at here: mechanisms, the value generation, and the mathematics. Within mechanisms, these are the ways in which we're looking to operationalize it. So we're looking at the ways in which we build community and social learning spaces, which comes from the Wenger and Wenger book, which I posted. And I know it's actually interesting how we're talking about social learning labs. Working place learning, that's certainly going to be one of the places we're looking at here, where we're looking to what are some of the places where we can get outside this online learning. All right. And we're also looking at the zone theory, where we're looking at what's possible and what the teachers perceive as being their freedom of movement. We're also looking on the mathematics side, mathematics boundary crossing. Certainly looking at and using your work in this space here. And also looking into some other ways in which we conceive of crossing between the two areas as well. So that's just a flash up, that's something which we're working on. Higher order thinking skills for teachers. And also we're looking to, within this area here, develop examples of practice with a series of deep dives. Value generation, that comes from Wenger and Wenger as well, where we're looking at immediate value. We're looking at ways in which people can see the potential from what they're learning, ways in which they're going to put it into practice, and then ways in which they can generate value from it by reflecting on it, which is a huge part of this project as well. So that there gives us a pretty good idea of all the different frameworks which we're currently working on to get this up and running. Here are some of the references associated with what I've just done then. And I guess what we can talk about now is what's next. Darius, you want to talk into where we are right now, including what we did maybe a week and a half ago and what that's coming up?
Just quickly, we're really looking at that mathematical knowledge for teaching at the moment, and really looking at that content creation for that to make sure we're actually hitting the mark with all those elements that Lewes was actually talking about. And we're about to run it through one of our modules. Lewes didn't mention it's 6 modules over 12 weeks is this micro-credential. And we're about to push it out to one of our focus groups and get some feedback on that focus group, because like we said, we're offering this in semester 1, 2024 as well. I will hold it there, Lewes, and throw to any questions, because I know Linda's giving us those eyes.
Yep. And just so you know, everybody who's asking a question, I can click on any of these and I'll go to that slide.
Okay, good.
Linda.